So 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, how's everyone doing? This is Bob Gums bringing you the Concern Forum. And wow, what a terrible week we have had. Before I go anywhere, let me say this. I want to extend my sympathy, my heartfelt sympathy, and my prayers to our Creator, to all the people in that small town outside of Chicago. Um, I believe the name of the town is Holland Park, if I'm not mistaken. 7 people were murdered, and I think something like about 20 something odd people, 20 or 30, were wounded. Oh, God. Every time I think about that on 4th of July, every time I think about that, that really makes me talk slow, folks. Um, I'll tell you what really has me kind of whacked out. There was a couple um, there with their little, I believe he was just barely 2, little boy. And what happened, the father, apparently he grabbed his kid and just, you know, threw him on the ground and then leaped on top of the kid to act as a shield. Um, so he felt, the best way for him to protect his son was to, get on top of him and cover his body with his own. And I think there's something in the Bible about greater love than this no man hath than to lay down his life for his friend. In this case, we can kind of update that a bit. Greater love than this no man has than to lay down his life for his son. Um, and that just acts of courage such as that, um, it really moves me. Um, I mean, just imagine you and your lady and your little one on 4th of July. It's supposed to be about hot dogs and Coca-Cola and Pepsi and well, hamburgers and cheeseburgers, and I already hit hot dogs, potato chips, baked beans, people marching. You got the schools marching bands, marching along with some young lady or some guy twirling the baton as they're marching. And that's what it's supposed to be about. And it was what I would call a real scene um, of Americana, you know. And I saw people of color out there. I saw Latino people. I saw Asian people, um, black people, white people, and they were all out there just plain Americans, just having fun on 4th of July. and then suddenly you hear that noise that's all too familiar in today's America. Um, as how somebody put it, the sound, you hear the sound of firecrackers, like firecrackers, but something inside in the pit of your stomach is telling you, hey, these ain't firecrackers. These ain't fireworks. These are the real deal. Uh, one of the senators, one of the United States senators from Illinois, who's a veteran, uh, her first name is Tammy Duckworth, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken with the last name, but she is an Asian American person, and she's a combat vet. As a matter of fact, uh, she loves this country so much. She gave us, I think it's her left leg, if I'm not mistaken. She lost her left leg in Iraq. As she says, she hasn't been in a similar situation since she left the Middle East. So now, a 4th of July celebration in real town, middle of America, is now similar to a combat zone in the Middle East. And apparently, the idiot, the insane monster that caused all this grief was using a weapon which vets tell me this is better than anything that we had during Nam. Now, I fired the M16. Um, I have never fired the AR-15. By the time, or anything of similar framework. When I left the military, they were still into the M16. And you have to excuse me because I've been doing this ever since I saw what happened on the news. And the thing about this kid, his life being saved by his dad giving up his life, it has really gotten to me. I find myself sometimes, speaking and just stopping in mid-sentence. I see someone up at the Veterans Hospital here in the Bronx to deal with some of the things that I went through when I was in the Navy. We had some things that happened. Like I said, when I was on the Nimitz and we were off the coast of certain places, and well, let's just say that I'm speaking to someone about that, and it just what happened 4th of July at that town in Illinois, it just opened up some things for me. That's how they found that family. I think the wife was on one side, or they had tried to take her try to get her to the hospital, and they found father and son. The son was underneath the body of his father, and they said that the little boy when will my parents come back to pick me up? And that really, for me, that was a real punch in the gut, quite frankly. Now, I want one of these Republicans to tell me that their need to have a weapon of war, that's more important because they have to have these weapons of war so that they could go and kill Bambi. Because, you have these Republicans and these right-wingers, hey, well, I'm a hunter. So that's why I must have this heavy artillery. Yeah, I know, it's not artillery. But it might as well be, okay? You're telling us that you need weapons like this. I repeat, you say you need weapons like this so that you can kill Bambi, right? So are you saying that Bambi is so up to date that Bambi has a heavy-duty flak vest, right? An insulated, well-supplied bunker that you have to run around with an AR-15? Because, of course, it's more important for you to be able to take out Bambi. Never mind the fact that a little boy is going to grow up an orphan for no good reason. Sometimes things happen, right? An accident, an explosion, and sometimes an actual war. And that happens, that dad's not coming home. Sometimes things happen in situations that mom and dad, neither one, are going to be coming home. But see, what I have a very difficult time with is there's no reason for this. Like I said, we've gotten, we understand Bambi does not have firepower comparable to the AR-15. So if Bambi doesn't have an AR-15, why does Hunter John need to have an AR-15? See, that's what I don't understand. And then you have these paranoids. Oh, well, you got to watch out because you got to watch out for the blacks, right? And then you got to watch out for them Hispanics coming across the border. And you never know when my family or myself will be put in jeopardy. And then, of course, it's always big government. Because the government is out to get us because the government, they're all liberals. They're all California or Northeast liberals that run the government and the mainstream media. And any day, Biden could decide, yeah, we got to take out the freedom of all of us guys in the Oath Keepers or Poor Boys. So that's why I have to have these weapons. See, that's what I don't understand. I really don't. Guys and gals, well, basically guys, you don't find that many women who've been in the military who join some of these whacked out outfits, okay, like Oath Keepers, Poor Boys. Women, when they get out of the military, they're just not into that in large numbers, right? Not like the guys are. So people who've been in the military, male or female, should know better. Okay? They should know better. And by what I mean by that is that if you've been in the military, you know damn well if the government was out to crush you, 20 guys from the neighborhood with AR-15s, that's not going to stop the government if that's what we're talking about, right? I mean, with a drone, they could take out the whole neighborhood. So what is it then? What's the purpose with all the, stockpiling all these weapons? This kid that pulled that massacre on 4th of July, that was not his first time coming in contact with law enforcement. I mean, another time, I think it was 2019, this guy had stockpiled a whole thing of knives and swords in his room. He had threatened to kill his entire family. I don't understand why he was even at home. Okay, this guy should have been in a rubber room a long time ago. You threatened to kill your entire family? It didn't occur to anyone in the system that, hey, we have a problem here? I mean, come on, people. This mentality that you have to protect yourself from your own country, we have gone too far. And what happened at that parade is just as, God forgive us, it's just a small example of how crazy things could get. I'll give you a real interesting scenario. What happens if, God forbid, this Democratic administration chickens out, punks out, however you want to put it, and decides not to prosecute Donald Trump and his minions? What happens then? And what happens if you allow the Republican Party to, state by state, engineer the elections in every state so that you wind up having a Republican in the White House, a Republican Congress? You already got a Republican Supreme Court, or actually, more to the term, a right-wing Supreme Court. So you got Republicans in control of all three branches of the federal government. You have the same people that you saw attacking our Capitol on January 6th, only now those people will be the Speaker of the House, there will be the President of the United States, they will be the Senate Majority Leader. Because, as I said, the courts would already be taken care of. What do you think you're going to see in the American streets across this country? Because they will then feel, yeah, well, we got away with it. And the Poor Boys or the Oath Keepers will say, yeah, we're going to do a demonstration uh, right in south side of Chicago, and a few other places that we don't like. And any disturbances or violence, well, yeah, it was black people. It was Black Lives Matter. It was a local Hispanic group. They're the ones that are responsible. And who's going to say no? Who's going to stand up and say no? Because they control the courts, they control the legislature, and they control the executive. What are you going to do? What would you legally be able to do? See, this is the type of forward thinking that the Democratic Party needs. And see, this is what I mean when I tell people, yeah, I'm talking in political terms. But this battle it's not political. This is just like what the Nazis did. See, like Mussolini, for example, in Italy, they were just like the Nazis in Germany, but they took power differently. They just basically took it. And the king at that time, it was a King Victor Emmanuel, basically he said, "Yeah, go ahead, take over the country, because I don't want to see the communists or the liberals have any part in any power sharing agreement. So just take it." Now that's how they did it in Italy. That's how Mussolini came to take over and become the dictator of Italy. But Germany, they were slightly different, because what Germany did, after they tried a putsch, that was in like 1925. They had a big push. A push is like a coup d'etat, like what you see in Africa from time to time. They just took over the government. Well, that's what the Nazis attempted to do in Germany in 25. And it failed. But see, what they did, they sat around, some went to jail, like Hitler and a few of the Nazi leaders who were close to him. They got together while they were in jail. That's where Hitler wrote that crazy book of his, Mein Kampf, which is German for my story. And when they came out of jail, they said, "Okay, we are going to get everything that we want, but we're going to do it politically." And so they ran for office. And the first time they did it, they got trounced. But people got used to seeing them out there with signs, campaigning, blah, blah, blah. And then what happened? The Great Depression. Remember, when they talk about the Great Depression here in the United States, 1929, the stock market falls and blah, 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 blah. It didn't just happen to America. It happened to the whole Western world, all right? And that's what happened. People, unfortunately, they let their guard down. They started listening to some of the crap that the Nazis have been preaching about Aryan superiority and all this other good crap. And they started making inroads in the Bundestag, which was the German parliament, right? And what they basically did, make a long story short, they didn't have to shoot their way into power. Now they did all that fighting and stomping people on the sidewalk. That was before they felt that they could get themselves elected to office. But after they realized that a violent putsch was the wrong way to go, they said, well, no, let's just go ahead and, play the political game. So they used politics to to set up their dictatorship. They used democratic politics to bring in a dictatorship. That's exactly what they did. And we have to be damn careful that it doesn't happen here. Remember, history does not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And that's what worries me about the United States. And also, we're talking about Americans. We're not talking about Western Europeans. Okay? And I'm not trying to be nasty, but I am trying to be real. We're not talking about, highly educated with a tradition of culture and learning, right? Sorry, folks, that ain't us. Especially over the last 30 years. That has not been us, right? So the idea of democracy, liberty, rule of law, yeah, that is a part of our makeup, that is a part of our DNA, and by the same token, it's not. Because you have to remember, you've always had these two streams of thought trying to overpower the other, one trying to overpower the other. You have a strong anti-intellectual strain in American life, okay? Whether we want to acknowledge it or not. It's just like when I talk about the American Empire. Some people get very antsy when I start throwing around terms like empire. A lot of Americans, they don't like to hear that, right? Well, history is not based on what makes you feel comfortable or uncomfortable. History is based on what happened and what's going on. And see, that's one of the big problems with Americans. And yes, the reason I point out problems here on the American landscape is because I can sit up here and talk a whole lot of warm and cuddly and fuzzy talk, right? Or I can tell you the truth. And Americans have a real rough time dealing with truth. I'm not talking about your truth, my truth, his truth. I'm just talking about truth. Is it raining outside? Yes. Okay, that's it. And see, that's a big problem in the United States. That's what happened with this thing with CRT. Number one, most people, when you say CRT, originally, most folks wouldn't know what the hell you're talking about. And that's something else that amazes me about the Republicans and the right wing in the United States. Because they know how to get people flaming mad about shit they never heard of before. Oh, CRT. CRT. You're telling my 2-year-old he's a racist. These are some of the comments, okay, that you get from people when you say CRT. And it's really rough work to make people understand, like when you tell them, listen, you have right-wingers who, especially in the Republican Party, who are trying to pull the wool over your eyes by getting you excited about stuff that doesn't exist, that's not true. But as I said, Republicans, they know how to do that. They know how to get folks angry. That's why here lately in modern American history, every time you have Republicans in the White House, since the late 70s, I would kind of make that my time frame. But every time you have Republicans in the White House, by the time they're finished, by the time they're getting out of the White House, you are usually going to have a big handful of very angry, very depressed Americans on your hand. You know, you had your guy in for 4 years or 8 years, you know, if he was able to win a second term, right? Now that his time is up, you know, you're supposed to be, oh man, well, let's see what this knucklehead Democrat's going to do. But gee, that Republican guy, he was really good, you know? He really accomplished a lot and so on and so forth. But you don't have that out of today's, you know, after today's Republicans get out, you know, finish their time in the White House. You will have a lot of hate, a lot of resentment, a lot of question marks. And it's the Democrats that have to come in and literally clean, pardon my French, but they literally have to clean shit up. And see, unfortunately, that's a pattern that Democrats have fallen into. The Republican gets in by dubious means, okay, but they get elected and they're in the White House, and they don't do anything. When I say do anything, I'm talking about in terms of helping working class, middle class America. They do nothing for all those people, right? Then the Democrat, he takes over, and lo and behold, the deficit starts to go down, jobs get created, right? Basically, we're at peace with the world, and the Democrat will conduct that type of White House for 4 or 8 years. And then, towards the end of that Democrat's time in the White House, you're going to start hearing, oh, well, damn Democrat, they screwed up. They wasted money, blah, blah, blah. You know, you start hearing all these little, you know, real petty complaints, see? And what happens, the American people get sucked in the falling for the crap that the right wing and the Republicans put out, and the cycle starts all over again. Look at Obama. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not a cheerleader for Obama, right? But I only deal in facts. Trump came in, and he found a beautiful economy. Even a lot of his own inside people have said that. Remember, in 08, 09, when Obama came in, you had all I think we were getting ready to crash out with the stock market. And for once, even Democrats and Republicans got together and they were saying, look, the hell with the damn banks because they have screwed working class America for the last time. Because if you recall, this is during the time when people were just knocking on your door. Hello, Jill and Mary Smith? I'm sorry, you really have to leave this house of yours because it's no longer your house. And you had all kinds of games being pulled on people. Or this is not really your house, and here goes the paperwork for this. But, it was a mess what was happening to this country. And folks in Congress, for once, they actually started to grow a pair, as they say. And they were saying, look, we ain't giving the banks jack. They screwed up the economy. All they did was, stuff themselves at the taxpayer slash public's expense. Why the hell should we pay these bastards anything to help bail them out? Hey, look it up. Look it up. And that's what really happened. You had the Secretary of the Treasury, right? He was actually telling Obama, listen, if you can't make these people give the banks bailout money, you might be forced to call out the federalize the National Guard around the country. If you cannot force the Congress to give the banks money. Now, have you ever heard of such bullshit? But that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. They wanted, they wanted the banks to basically profit off of this, the emergency aid package. And people were telling, saying to Obama, listen, if you are going to take care of the banks, how about the guy with the mortgage, regular home mortgage? And then you had the Republican machine started coming up because you know how they do. They have to have their little comeback lines. They have to have their little bullshit. And you started hearing stuff like, oh, yeah, well, you worked hard making your mortgage payments for 20 years. Now the Democrats want you to pay your neighbor's mortgage also. Remember hearing stuff like that? It was a damn lie. Nobody wanted people to have a freebie except the banks. And unfortunately, as usual, and it's been like that for like at least the last 20, 25 years, that the American people keep falling for it. But that's what happened. The Republicans basically laid out, excuse me, folks, I'm upstairs today. And I think I told you before, it's kind of closed in, poor circulation. So it gets a little stuffy in here. And it's not good for people with allergies, at least in my opinion. But anyway, that's what happened. They basically, I think it was the largest transfer of wealth in American history. But they gave the banks a huge birthday present, right? And poor little Joker, poor little working class guy, poor little Eddie Kozlowski and Billy O'Brien, they got that, okay? And the bankers, they got like that. And see, that's what happened. Obama was literally threatened. He was threatened. The bank. What's the name of that guy? He's the one, the economic advisor or secretary of the Treasury. He held one of those titles, and he is the one that everybody hated, right? And see, he, on the behest of his friends in the banking industry, he threatened Barack. He threatened him. It might not seem like it, but basically that's what he did. He threatened, or I should say, the bankers got him to threaten the president of the United States. Because I think for that one, even Pelosi, even Nancy Pelosi, who is a corporate Democrat to the bone, but even her told the bankers, yo, we're just not going for this bullshit. You are sticking it to the American people. You guys went out, you played all of your computer economic games, and the American people are the ones who have to pick up the tab, and it's not right. And this person, this Treasury Secretary, or economic advisor, whichever, he was one of those. Just like Henry, Kissinger with Nixon, then with Ford. Well, that's who this guy is, right? He was one of those guys, okay? And he told the President of the United States and the Speaker of the House and the big muckety-muck for the Republicans, he told all three of them, if you don't have the testicles to do it yourself, then you call out the troops. You call out the Army Reserve, and you get it done. But that gives you an idea of just how gross these damn bankers can be. And if you remember, during that same time period, Congress did not they didn't go home. What was it, the Thanksgiving holidays, if I'm not mistaken? But Congress was told, you ain't going home. And they kept Congress in there until they made Congress bend to their will. Yes, indeed. That's exactly what happened. And see, that is your problem. Now, all this stuff with Trump, right? You have to ask yourself, do you really believe that corporate banking, corporate world, do you really believe that they want Donald Trump to somehow remain in power? I don't know. You got my email up there. You tell me what you think, okay? Because personally, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that Donald Trump scares the hell out of them, just like he scares the hell out of everyone else. and that there will be a reckoning somewhere along the line. Now the question is when, and will it be in time? Because I tell you, honest to God, if something happens, uh, I might get some air in here, at least in my arms anyway. But honestly, if Trump is not put on trial, if he's not put on trial, I seriously doubt if we will continue to have a United States of America. It's just that simple. He must be prosecuted for his crimes, especially now that we know exactly what those crimes are. He has to be taken down. He must. See, no, for one thing, if you allow Republicans back in power, okay, then you must be suicidal because you will have a blood a blood what's the proper connotation? You are going to have war. And what I mean by that, not just trying to chop off the legs of Democrats. You're going to have a lot of Republicans that these people want to see hung. I put it to you like this. If Trump is not prosecuted by by the time of the next presidential election, which is when, 04? I'm sorry, 24? If we don't have that, then I would advise you to maybe start looking at some property in Central Africa, right? Seriously. Start looking to see, those dating clubs and everything. Start checking out the dating clubs in Central Europe, Africa, the Middle East, the Pacific Islanders, right? If, as I say, if he is not jailed, or at the very least, if he's not placed on trial by the election in 24. And I say this for a bunch of different reasons. For one thing, it shows that there's really no rule of law in this country. So if you don't have a sense of law in this country, why do you want to stay in the place where these people people want to kill you? It makes no sense whatsoever, whatever. It doesn't. Now, sooner or later, we are going to have to face that road. Are we going to cross it? Or do you believe that we're better off hiding underneath the rock or something, right? I tell you quite frankly that, because some people are saying, oh, well, if they try to prosecute Trump, it's going to be a revolution, it's going to be a fight, it's going to be a civil war. You know what I say to that? Bring it on. Bring it the hell on. Because you're better off fighting for something than standing there like a big goof and letting people get away with breaking our laws. Now, these people who they call immigrants, right? Well, they break our laws every time they come across the border. When these people come across the border, and yeah. Well, guess what? You're only half right. People have a right to flee if they are in a bad situation, right? That's how people wound up coming to a place called the United States. So there's no comparison. But you cannot they arrest, in America, we arrest whole communities of people. We arrest whole ethnic communities, supposedly for breaking the law. Yet, you have a situation where the President of the United States literally tried to overthrow our government. It did happen. We have it on tape. This is not 1776. This is 2022. All this stuff is on tape. You can sit down at your computer and you can see the whole damn thing. There's no hiding from this. And I submit to you that if you allow Trump and his people to get away with what they tried to pull, to me, that would make it obvious that just like Trump, you really don't give a damn about the United States of America. Because you cannot have a country where there is no law. You can't have one law for these kind of people over here, but these other folks over here, it doesn't matter. You can't do that. That's not law. The law has to apply to everyone, or it applies to no one. It's just that damn simple. And see, therein lays the problem. And these people who are calling witnesses and potential witnesses, they are the problem. Because they want the law just for themselves and no one else. Just like this business, or you have veterans and the oath keepers and blah, 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 blah. Well, damn it, those veterans definitely need to be caught and prosecuted because they, of all folks, should know better. Just like General Milley says. Just like in the Navy. I was a yeoman, admin, but I also had collateral duties. Assist the gunner's mate. Assist the damage control teams, right? So basically the yeoman is one of those positions where you just about know everything about everybody, right? You know where the expression, well, she knows where the bodies are buried. Well, yeah, that would describe a yeoman in the U.S. Navy, All right. So if I wound up getting into trouble, getting into fights when we're overseas, that sort of business, and I'm with a couple of other sailors, or Marines, right? Like maybe there's about three sailors and two Marines, and we wound up at a bar in Naples, and somebody said something, and the next thing you know, bottles are flying, chairs are flying, everybody's raising hell. And Shore Patrol takes us back to the ship the next day, back to the Nimitz the next day. Who do you think is going to get slammed the most? Those gunner's mates and bosun's mates and the two Marines and the yeoman? Who do you think is going to catch it? Me, the yeoman. The yeoman is going to catch hell. I mean, I've seen cases like that. Everybody gets cut loose, no punishment, except for the yeoman. He might wind up with 2 weeks bread and water in the brig. And you know why? Because I was at that particular hearing taking notes for the old man. And his reasoning was this: everybody's getting cut loose except for you, Petty Officer Frank. Do you know why? Frank, I'm not really sure, sir. And guess what? The old man tells him, yeah, everybody's getting cut loose except you. I'm dumping a ton of bricks on your head. You still ain't figured it out yet? The guy says, no, sir. Well, keep thinking about it. It will come to you. All Frank could do was say, aye, aye, skipper, and that was it. He lost 2 weeks' pay, and they broke it down a little bit. He only had to spend a week in the brig. But this gunner's mate, who also knew about the incident, he broke it down for him. He said, because you're a yeoman. Yeomans, they have access to everything, whether you are on a ship or whether you're on a shore station. You know everything. Therefore, you're supposed to know better. That's why you got slammed, and everybody, and the rest of the guys didn't have to worry about anything. And Franks eventually got the idea. And see, looking at Trump, and especially at his compatriots that did all that dirty, horrible, filthy stuff to our nation's capital, same lesson goes for them. See, you have a lot of people that were involved in this whole mess who actually know better. And that, therein lies the problem. That's why I say some of these people need to be punished as soon as possible. You have these people, they know better, right? They are supposed to be so stupid as to fall for Trump's BS. And that's why I say they need to be slammed, they need to be slammed hard, and they need to be slammed as soon as possible. that also brings up another point. Joe Biden. Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. Hey, look, either you're going to stand up and fight for our country, or you're just going to sit around like a potted plant and let these people literally destroy who we are and destroy everything that gives meaning to be an American citizen. We are a unique country. And the problem is that too often the people who should know better, they don't understand, they don't recognize what it was that really made America great. You always got some big mouth from South Carolina or from Texas always trying to lecture people like me, black people, about what makes America so unique. And see, too often, the people who need to stand up and talk about what's great in America, they don't do it. They don't put these right-wing clowns in their place. And I would love to have the opportunity to do that. The question is, what makes the United States the greatest country in the world? Well, number one, America is not the greatest country in the world. And if she ever was, she damn sure ain't there now. But unlike so many of these people on the right wing, and that's the one thing that really just, I want to pull somebody's hair out. They love to yell chants. They love to just, America, love it or leave it. With all these bullshit beer can commercials. But if you ask them in a logical English sentence, just what the hell is it that you're upset about? They can't do it. They can't express themselves. And see, that is one of the main things that really causes so many problems in this country. Intelligent people don't know what the hell these clowns are talking about. That's one of the big problems right there. Don't tell me. Remember what they used to say about Barack the first time he ran? Oh, well, Barack Obama just doesn't get it. And of course, they were saying that to point out his difference. Who the hell does this dark guy think he is to run for the presidency? That's all that was about. But if you just, if somebody would have just said to them, okay, you don't like Obama, I get that. Now, could you please tell me what it is about the guy that freaks you out so much? If Pelosi had just said something like that, right, at a debate somewhere, or on a TV news interview. All right, you're screaming that he's a socialist and he wants to be a socialist dictator and take everybody's guns. Okay, cool. Now, could you please tell us why are you saying this? What has he done that gives you any indication, whatever, that that's what this guy is planning to do? And Pelosi and most of the other Democrats could never say that, right? From the time he got to the White House to the time he left, I have never heard any of these right-wingers say just what is your, tell us just what their beef is. It's just like now, because so many Republicans who have been around for a while have constantly been attacking the Democrats, right? And they knew Joe Biden when he was a senator. And see, that's another problem they have, because they've all have been caught on film being with Joe Biden, hanging out with Joe Biden, talking about what a great guy Joe Biden is. So what they're trying to do now, 2 years before the election, what they're trying to say, oh, well, yeah, Joe Biden, yeah, he was a great guy. He was a great senator, blah, blah, blah. He did marvelous things for Delaware. Yang, 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 yang. But what happened after he became president, he went with Pelosi and AOC and, the squad and all of these left-wing radicals. And I'm like, okay, now Democrats in the House, Democrats in the Senate, we have them. Just say to the Republicans, okay, you are calling these people and Pelosi, they're part of the left-wing radical movement. Fine. You believe that? Fine. Now, can you kindly tell us what the hell these people have said that has got you so upset? In other words, you say they're radical left-wing policies. Okay, cool. What about their policies that are so wrong and so radical and so left-wing? Okay, you're trying to make a point that Biden was a good old-timey United States senator. I get that, right? But you still haven't told me about today. Today, what makes Joe so different today? Could you please tell us that? Why is he so radical today? Or what is it that he wants to do in conjunction with AOC and the rest of the squad that you keep on denouncing? Okay, fine, you don't like them. We get that. You don't have to keep hitting us over the head with the same thing. You don't like them people. We got that. Now, what's wrong with them? What's wrong with their policies? Can you please take one particular policy and tell us why it's so left-wing, so catastrophic, so dangerous, so terrible? Tell us. Hell, if you sat down and told us, we might agree with you. I might agree with you. But I can't agree with you if you ain't telling me what the problem is. And see, that is, I blame my party, the Democratic Party. I blame them for that. I blame us, the Democrats. I blame us for that. Because this idiot's constantly talking about, oh, Biden has joined up with the left wingers in the House, and that's what is so terrible. A good man like Joe Biden got all wrapped around with Pelosi and AOC. Well, number one, AOC and Pelosi are two different people, okay? Yes, they're in the same party. Yes, they're both in Congress. Yes, they're respectful and civil to each other. But other than that, that's basically it. AOC wants Pelosi to, come on, let's move. And Pelosi is, yeah, look, you're a cool young lady, but we have to take it easy. So now we're at the point, we don't know what the hell, Mr. Republican, Mr. Right Winger, Mr. Oath Keeper, we don't know from nothing, as the boys used to say. Because you have not yet told us what the hell is it that you're talking about. And that is what really, really trips my trigger. Because I hate people who think that they got some kind of holy cause or holy mission, and they never tell you specifically what's bugging them. Yeah, well, a good U.S. senator has become a terrible left-wing, radical socialist. Okay. That's what you're saying we Democrats are. We have become a left-wing radical party. Okay, that's fine. Not really fine, but you have given me a reason for your vitriol. But you still haven't told me what. In other words, what the hell is it? What is the damn problem? What is it, or I should say, what in particular makes this idea so radical, so left-wing, so radical? You still have not explained that. And that is the big problem. And see, this is what I mean when I say that Democrats need to stand up, hit the streets, hit the pavement, and start expressing to people exactly what it is that we're trying to do if we get the opportunity. It's just that simple. And Nancy Pelosi, Ms. Cortez, or as they call you, AOC, you are both, you're a pair of very nice, highly intelligent ladies. But for goodness sake, make these people tell us what it is that they have against both of you all. And see, that's the thing, as we wrap it up here, that I really want folks to take away from this particular show. Make these people talk. Don't let them get away with, AOC and Pelosi, they're just a couple of left-wing radicals. Okay, why? What makes them radicals? What about their policies are so radical. The fact that they can't give you an explanation, that should tell you something right there. And as we close out for the day, once again, remember to keep those people in Illinois in your prayers. And look out for each other. Be good to each other. And we'll be back, same time, next week. And we also come on YouTube. And I would consider it a personal favor if you folks could, if you can't catch us on TV, check us out on YouTube. And then they have the thing, little box in the bottom that you like to show, didn't like it, whichever. But I'd appreciate if you folks would take a look at that. Those of you who, check out YouTube. It's the same show, The Concerned Forum, and your host, me, Bob Gumbs. So, hey, may the Creator bless you all, and take care. Be well. Thank you. Bye now.